Friends, we have so many things going on that I just need to tell you right from the outset. So let's get into it. Friday, March 20th, Shabbat dinner and service at Second Arrow. The following day, Saturday, March 21st, Shabbat morning Torah study at the rabbis here in Midlothian. Then again, the following Friday, Shabbat dinner at Second Arrow, this time no service. And then we're getting into Passover. So we're going to have a Passover marketplace at Art Factory down in Midlothian. You know that we love Art Factory. Sunday, March 29th, we're going to have Seder to-go kits. Okay, imagine this. You come with your family, you get everything you need for the Passover Seder, it goes in a bag, and you're done. It's that simple. Everything you need. You got a Seder plate, you got haggadot, you got juice, you got all of it. Just there, done, easy, bingo. No more fighting people at Wegmans for that last, crappy box of matzah. So anyway, we'd love to have you. So Passover Marketplace at Art Factory, Sunday, March 29th. But now, of course, the thing you want to hear about, what are we doing for Pesach? Where are we going for Seder? Here's where we're going. Commonwealth Autism. Wednesday, April 1st and Thursday, April 2nd, Passover with Kehila. Of course, let's talk about the food. We got to just get that one out of the way. So we're going to have wine. We're also going to have grape juice. And it's not going to be Manischewitz. We're going to have some better stuff. So some things that are enjoyable. And the food's going to be great. We're going to have vegan and gluten-free options as well. So don't be afraid to come if you have any dietary restrictions beyond kashrut. And what's the Seder going to look like? It's going to be interfaith and family friendly. It's going to be open to everybody. We're going to use the Jew Belong Haggadah, which is always fun. It's a lot of storytelling. It's super great. And there will be plague masks and a dessert buffet. So we'd love to have you Wednesday, April 1st and Thursday, April 2nd for these events and more. If you want to come and you can't afford a ticket, no problem. You are officially a volunteer. Send us an email, go on our website, let us know that you're interested in helping out. Remember, you matter. And now, you get to meet my friend, Avi Remetz, who is part of the Jewish Community Federation of Richmond, who runs Next Gen. Super awesome guy. He's really into Fish and proggy type bands. He's into funk and all of that stuff. He's a really cool guy. He's a really great example of what we need in Jewish leadership going forward, right? We need people who are open and flexible, who understand the mission, the vision, and the purpose for Jewish life. I am thrilled. As an aside, one of the cool things about Next Gen, other than the fact that a bunch of our people are involved in it, is that in June, we're going to do a Pride Month Shabbat at the JCC with Next Gen. So I'm super excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, this is my pal, Avi. You know how we roll. It's not super fancy intros. Let's get into it. I'm Rabbi Patrick, and welcome to Kehila.
Significantly less, and it was a local. We haven't really heard them. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Kendall Street Company. They're a local kind of funk band. And we saw them, and she's like, "Well, I really want them." And I'm like, "It's 3 times the amount." There's been some things like that where it's this is, we could do that. And she's like, "Yeah, but I'd rather this," and it is what it is. I think the hardest part for me right now is just, spending 9 to 5 planning events and going home and planning event.
God, yeah, forget that.
Yeah. So I said actually to Daniel today, when it's over, I'm probably going to be sitting on my hands going what am I supposed to be doing? I feel it's the same thing. After I got my master's, I was like, wait a second, I don't have to do anything right now. My weekend is my own. And, my night classes don't exist anymore. So weird. I'm sure it will, but I feel very happy, blessed, and ready for it to be over.
Yeah. Are you guys doing a young adult Passover extravaganza that you're then going to have to think about?
No.
So I'm going to say, be what, 2 weeks later, a week later or something?
That's the honeymoon. We're using, because he works at the J, so we get the light. Right, I get some of the days off, so we were let's just use that to our advantage. And I've been talking to a few people. They've been very understanding. I'm I cannot do anything till post Passover. I literally cannot handle it. Or we have a men's group event coming up in a few weeks, and I was it's to watch March Madness. And I'll come if I can.
Respect.
Yeah, you guys, it's just going to a bar. I think you can handle it. So it's, I'll get that out.
Okay, so the bar thing's interesting to me. So I don't know. Do you subscribe to any newsletters about event planning or any? Okay, so we used to run all of our ticketing through Eventbrite. Okay. And so, yeah. Because like a lot of bands do stuff like that and clubs do stuff like that, right? So there was, we don't do that anymore, but it's still on their email list. Like what? It's spam. Like what?
Yeah.
But for some reason, they got me today. So I clicked on it. It was this idea called soft socializing, which it's just marketing nonsense, right? Like it's just like words that consultants make up and now AI makes up.
Right, exactly.
But it was a reasonable idea because it sort of gave a term to something that I've noticed. And I think, how old are you again? Remind me.
35.
35, right. Because I know that we had about, I was thinking it wasn't quite 10 years, but close, right? So I'm 43. But I feel like as an elder millennial or, baby Gen X, my concept of an event, right? Going to a concert, happy hour, whatever, is a thing that you go to. Maybe bands are different, but you go to socialize.
Right.
I went to the skate park when I was 18 because I wanted to meet girls. It was a very odd, the bands were great, love it.
Yeah.
I want to meet cute punk girls, right? Or as a young adult, I want to make friends, socialize, right?
Right.
So apparently this is now there's an opposing position to this where younger people, and also kind of more introverted types, what they want, they see that as hard socializing. I put the name tag on and now I have to make friends with Avi and there's pressure and whatever, right?
Yeah, I think that is something that I think it's always helpful now to have something to do. Just pushing people into a room, being okay, yeah.
Right.
So, when we do our Hanukkah party, we try and the first year we did a Kahoot to okay, make some friends, make a team. And this year it was one of those bingo, socializing, find someone with your birthday month and things like that. So you could do it, but you didn't have to. And that I find that giving the option of something to do does kind of break the ice for people a little bit easier of okay, I am physically doing something here with you and I don't have to go up across the room and be hey, notice you're wearing, whatever,
local sports team and whatever you're in.
Exactly. Yeah. So I could see that.
Do you think some of it is a COVID thing?
I don't know. There's this book that's been on the top of my to read list. It's actually, I'm right before the honeymoon, I'm probably going to buy it and just just on that. It's all about, it's the anxiety generation.
Yes, Jonathan Haidt.
Yeah.
I haven't read it.
I'm curious. I think that there's clearly a rise in social and mental anxiety. And so I'm curious if that sort of ties into it. But my future brother-in-law has a lot of social anxiety. But he's not a bad socializer. He's that was so awkward. I'm I thought it was perfectly normal socialization. And I feel a lot of people have that. Yeah, when I was leading a teen group at one point, I forget what activity we were doing, and some girl got up. It was an icebreaker or something. She's oh, this is so awkward. I don't know if I should go. This is so awkward. We were what is it? She's the person before me had the same answer as me. And we were what? So it is not awkward. But the fact that you said it 10 times and we're so afraid to actually say this thing did make it awkward for the rest of the room.
Right.
Your fear. Or
you hate it weird.
So I think that's some of it is people are this is going to be weird. And it's you may perceive it as that.
Right.
But that's not actually what's happening.
Yeah. There are people that ruminate about this stuff weeks later, right?
When I was in high school, I had a little bit of a mouth on me and it got me in it.
Did you really?
Well, oh, yeah. And a few fist fights here and there because I always
seriously.
I always stood up for myself and was you talk the talk, but you also walk the walk. I just was I knew, I was if a bully is a bully, you gotta face him head on. Thing. And actually, my future brother-in-law remembers one of those because we went to the same high school. And when I first started dating his sister, he was I've carried this for a while. I felt so bad. I helped instigate you into one of those fights. I was Dude, I don't even remember. I felt so bad. And, I pushed you to do this. I was like, you were there. I remember it happening. I don't remember anybody else being involved other than me and this person. We are all very self-critical of ourselves sometimes, and then the added anxiety. I don't know. I mean, I don't if it's COVID related or if it's just kind of this social media world that we live in of like you're maybe living up to expectations or seeing how other interact, and you're like, oh, is that what I should write?
Like how often do you look at the news? Like on your phone, let's say.
I try not to.
I try not to. Okay.
Yeah.
You and I have this in common. I'll tell you a really weird story. So there was the, gosh, I'm going to get the name of it wrong. It was the Jewish Thinking Jewishly event at the JCC. Right? And it was the day after Charlie Kirk got shot. Or maybe it was the day up.
Yep.
And so here's the thing. I only look at the news once a day.
Yeah.
And it hadn't happened yet. Like I was looking at the news at like 6 a.m. But usually like when I get up. And I just went about my life and did my thing, whatever it was. And then when I got to the JCC, I remember I saw Tal, and I was like, hey, how's it go? Like I was trying to be friendly. Like, hey, how's it going? She was like, oh, as good as it can, given everything that's going on in the world. And I'm like, did Hamas do something? Like immediately, I was like, oh God, okay, now what, right?
Yeah.
But then I didn't we didn't talk about it. We talked about fun. Yeah. And then I'm sitting there, right? And I'm, whatever. I feel so stupid now because I remember I talked about like Peter Gabriel. The affair was like, give like your conception of like religion or something. And I was like, oh, it's the Book of Love, like by Peter Gabriel, like in magnetic fields and stupid. Yeah. And then we went into those little like kind of cohorts. So the rabbis all go into a cohort, and I'm sitting there probably with some stupid grin on my face. And they're talking about like how dark and horrible the world is and just we need Moshiach now type stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like this real, and I'm just like, dude, what, like, who put the turd in the punch bowl here? What do I not know?
Yeah.
That's going on here, right? And then like we did, the event ended, whatever. I walk out into the entrance, right? I get on my phone, swipe right, news comes up, Charlie Kirk. And I was like, oh my God.
See, but this is the thing now. I remember you doing a pretty good job there. I think that is one thing that you do well is sometimes your rabbinic references are out of left field, and that's what I like about it. I appreciate what others enjoy as well, that they you have a few different worldviews and experiences than that of your normal rabbi. And I think that really puts you in a good position for where you're at. And in those situations, I'm like, I like what he said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I joked with you the first time I met you. You were the one that brought this up of the like, yeah, I'll talk to you after 18 months. Have you survived 18 months at this point? I bet you have.
Yes.
How long have you been here now?
About 2 years. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
In April, it'll be exactly 2. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes. And yeah, we are looking to settle down in Richmond. We love it here.
Good.
Her parents are and most of her family is now in Virginia Beach. So we're close enough, yet far enough. It's really like what I have found is Richmond has everything of a major city without the congestion.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about it. Like I can just drive down Broad Street and get to the other side of the city, within 20 minutes.
Right.
While everyone else is like, ugh, it's 20 minutes away. I'm like, it's only 20 minutes away. Like the restaurant scene, the music scene, everything that you want out of a city, we have here. But not, I like going to, I grew up in Philadelphia. It's weird now I'm in, Henrico, so I'm not exactly in the city, but like, not falling asleep to car horns on the ambulances and things like that you would in a normal city. And so I think it's really a good mix of the two. And what I describe to other people when I first meet them or they move here is also within the Jewish community. It's a very pleasant mix of Jewish and Southern hospitality, where no matter what who you are, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
doing this Friday. Like, run over. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think you get that too often.
Yeah. Yeah. When I moved here, so that would have been 2016. So I've been here for a decade. And it's interesting how it's changed.
So I've heard.
Yeah. When I moved here, there was this kind of like culture of gatekeeping, but no one actually was gatekeeping. It was just this thing of like, there are gatekeepers. And I'm like, okay, well, where are they? And it's like, well, but they are. It's like he who will not be named almost, right? Like just this omnipresent thing of like, don't say the 4-letter name, And I would be like, well, what's the problem? And it's like, well, we don't cross the river.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like, what? So why? Like, why don't we again?
Yeah.
It's like, well, because those people.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, which those people?
Yeah.
Exactly. Stop talking in these like weird proverbs. Yeah. I'm trying to have a conversation, not read the I Ching.
Definitely.
And now it's different because there's a lot more cross-pollination. There's people, I meet people out here all the time. Yeah. I don't care what any stupid surveys say. When my car breaks down in my driveway and the guy who pulls up to replace my battery is Jewish and lives in Moseley, yeah, like, come on. And is probably like your age.
And after the survey came out that we did with JFNA, it was during Hanukkah, and when I got home, I realized a neighbor across the street had a menorah in their window. I never even talked to them, and I brought over some Sufgani oat. I was like, wait a second, they're the same age as me, I guess. And that's part of the, like, everyone's like, well, it says there's X amount, like, of Jews, where are they? And it's like, right, they are here. It's just, it's the question of all Jewish, especially federations, but most Jewish entities are like, how do we reach those that we aren't reaching? And it's because it is tough, but I think the answer is always the word of mouth. That's how you get people to show up. That's how you get new faces.
Yeah. And I think that's something you're really good about, because I remember this was before you were around. I was having a conversation with a few Federation people at the time. And I said, you know what I'd love to see that I know you can't do is to ask every synagogue and every organization here to just describe, like, give 3 reasons, or not 3 reasons, excuse me, give 3 attributes of who you are that are uniquely you. That way, when someone comes to town and they just kind of want to find something to start with, they're going to start with the thing that feels the most comfortable. Exactly. If you are under 30, they're going to go to you. They're not going to immediately walk into a Kahila event because they're going to see a mix of like younger people and older people. They're going to go, no. I just want to have what I had at Hillel.
Exactly.
Like 8 years later. Yeah, right?
Right.
And that was very much shot down. I was like, what do you mean? Like, the synagogues wouldn't be able to come up with, like, I can come up with 3 things that make us different. I could probably come up with 3 things that are different for each community. But that was anathema.
Yeah.
And so having you where you can, in a very diplomatic way, and I think that was the problem, was this sense of like, well, but if we do that, then it's going to look like we're marketing. And to be fair, you can't. But also, if you want to guide people towards things, you have to describe it.
Right. Like they're seeking the community, but they don't know where to begin. That's why my first thing was like meeting with all the rabbis.
Right.
I haven't attended all the services. I have a general understanding. I think like one thing I've learned through like the federation system and through my personal life is if you want them to show up for you, you also have to show up for them. But I think like that's also the good thing about the Richmond Jewish community is that it's not too overwhelming. It's really like, okay, are you looking for more young adults, more young families?
Yes.
And so with those questions, I'm able to highlight, okay, here's what's right for you.
Right.
That's all I'm here for, is to just kind of shepherd in some of the young adults because it's on a rise here in Richmond.
Yeah.
And show them, okay, if having moved here 2 years ago, what would I want? Yeah. Or I think like, as I said, the real thing that makes Richmond unique is there is some of that generation to generation,
Mhm.
but even without that, just people are just so open. And so they open their doors kindly, and offer to show others around. And you come to like a few of these next gen events,
Mhm.
you're going to make a friend.
Yeah.
And they're like, how can you ensure that? I'm like, because like the people, it's just the way they are. And I don't think I've lived anywhere where it happens that
Right.
even if they're not involved in like on our board or committee or in a senior leadership role, they're just a community member. They'll see you sitting alone and join you.
Right.
And it's those moments that really make me happy to be a part of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on this, but I think you figured it out faster than me. Like, I know seriously, because it went back to like when we were doing the Tuba Seder, like there was a moment where I was looking, I think we had five tables, each with 6 people in the yoga studio, right? And I kind of at a point was looking at there were 7, where I was looking at the tables and then I was like, oh wait, like people are talking to each other. There's a vibe. It's good. I don't need to go in and be like, hey, everybody. Hello.
Yeah.
Like I just need to be the leader. Right. Just need to do the job that I'm here to do.
Well, I think, an interesting aspect of it, I grew up going to an Orthodox grade school first when I was very young. And I was not. My family was sort of reform, conservative, somewhere along those lines.
Sure.
But I knew I was like different. I didn't live in that neighborhood. I and my peers kind of understood that a little bit.
Okay.
And there was one other kid in the class who also drove in. And
Okay.
and it's kind of what led me on my Jewish education journey, because at the time it was the rabbis like, no, this is how it's done. This is what the book says, very orthodox, and sure, them that works for them.
Right.
When I got home and we stop in McDonald's, I'm like, wait a second, like, and I'm doing okay. This isn't really affecting me. So it was like later in life, as I study more and more and more, I'm like, well, some of this stuff isn't as black and white as they make it seem.
Yeah.
And some of it is a little bit added later, and it's not even in the direct text,
Right.
in the Talmud or even post-Talmud.
Right.
And now we've adapted. And so that's where it kind of led me to, offer this place of like, come as you are Jewishly, because maybe there isn't a right answer.
Right.
Or maybe there is, but I'm not here to tell you that. That has helped me sort of shape what I do in Next Gen, and what I believe also you model in Kahila as well. And to their credit, it's what grows Chabad. I'll mention that's how it's done traditionally, and we're deciding to do it this way. Take with it what you will. I think like the hardest part, the where we've sort of failed in some of Jewish education is like this is how it was done, so this is how you do it.
Sure.
Like go up there in front of all your friends and family and do it to note by note.
Right.
And I think again, I feel that there was a disconnect, and sort of forcing the hand for people is not what modern Judaism is not going to benefit modern Judaism, because we're seeing a rise in interfaith couples, a rise in people stepping away from religious structures. And I think that's because some can kind of force that hand and say like, well, you got to do it this way.
Right.
Or else you're going to be that kid in the class that everybody else knows is driving on Shabbat.
Right. Right.
When I was when I grew up going to a conservative synagogue, and when I was in USY, the youth group, that's what kind of led me on my Jewish journey, even more so. Like all these things, I'm grateful really to my parents for allowing me to grow in those spaces and bringing me to those spaces. It's clearly changed my life. But while I was there, like I said, I had a little bit of a mouth in high school. I acted out. My father's side of the family can get a little snarky, some sharp tongues there.
Okay.
And so it was keeping up with them and defending myself as like the smallest Jewish kid in the class. When it wasn't, where I grew up mainly after we left that religious school, I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Allentown's like a different vibe.
Yeah, it's very big. My high school had I graduated with 850 kids, and like 10 are Jewish. So that was how I kind of defended myself. But it was during that time that I was kind of, I recognized that I needed to shift a little bit, that I wanted to run for regional board.
Okay.
And people were skeptical. They're like, the class clown wants to be the class president. And I was like, yeah, because I care about this. And they're like, we can't take you seriously, though. Like, do you? Or is this a shtick? And so that's when I started to realize, and even while I was there, I still got in a little bit of trouble. And I was like, you know what? I learned from it. We all have regret some of our decisions in high school, whether it was the faux hawk I had at one point. But I did, what I remind myself is you did learn from. And I do catch myself sometimes. In my head, I'll have a good snarky comment. And I'm like, now's not the place for it. Or other times amongst the right crowd, I'm like, I know I could throw this out. But it was that moment of like, no, I really care about this. I want to be taken seriously. I feel very comfortable, at these regional conventions amongst friends who we are all talking about how much our Jewish mothers want us to be doctors and lawyers, that I could grow because I just felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And when I was told, like, are you really up for the challenge? It was shocking to the core. So I was like, why wouldn't I be? And they're like, well, because you kind of putz around. And I'm like, okay, that does make sense. Yeah. And so I learned from that. And then it led me to later in life in college. I was in business school and not understanding any of it. And that's when I was like, I had this great opportunity to grow as a person in Jewish youth group. I want others, if they are seeking Jewish community, if they're saying, I'm trying to take that leap, this is meaningful to me and I want to be a part of that. I want to step up. I want to make that a place in my life. Well, then I want to cater to those people.
Right.
And so I'm grateful that my career has led me to places, mainly it used to be for teens, but now my peers, that I could be that shepherd. And so a friend of mine was talking about, he works on MRI machines.
Yeah.
Even the results to a doctor kind of thing.
Okay.
But he was talking to me about, the ripple effect. He's like, I'm just scanning them, telling them, hey, don't move, And to him, that's just his day-to-day. But what he doesn't realize is, what he did realize, is like that those results can literally change a person's life.
Yes.
It can be for a parent, a loved one. It could be the good news or bad news that they need to hear that can then change their whole trajectory. And then I started to think about, there's a number of people here that I've either, helped find careers in the Jewish community or helped find a place in the Jewish community, that it's just my 9 to 5 sometimes to me. And I don't think about that ripple effect until they come to me later and they're like, I have friends now.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you're running around, take a moment for yourself to enjoy it. And I'm like, I'm enjoying it because you're enjoying it. I don't mind that I'm running around because the band needs this, or, this cover the bar tab or whatever it may be, because my moment of happiness is seeing that room full of happiness.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% on this. It was actually, so those are, if you see those two black and white, so we're in the tiki room for people who are listening to this. So if you see those two black and white photos right there, so the one on the right, you'll see the shorter blonde, that's my mother. And then to the left, you'll see 4 people. There's a man in solid white on the right-hand side. So that's my dad. So they were both in the hospitality industry, nightclubs, restaurants, hotels, things like that, in different points in there, like, and one is my mom with Hugh Hefner, and then the other is my dad with Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. Yeah, it's crazy. But like that one on the right's the 1960s. I think that the one on the left of my dad, I think that I was born like 4 days later. I don't actually know the date of that picture. I think this was a New Year's party, and my mom was talking about how like she was so pregnant that she like was like in the worst mood possible, but she had to go because it was like my dad was opening a luxury hotel, and it was like you just needed, like you had to go. Like it just was that way, right? Different times too, like different expectations of people, even in the 80s. But they both had this ability to do what you're talking about. Like what they loved was seeing, the people dancing.
Right.
Yeah. So hot take, because you mentioned like your big Hanukkah party, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So controversial opinion. I think that in Richmond, because different cities have different vibes.
Yeah.
I think in Richmond, Hanukkah is the high holidays.
I could see that. I think this year, I'm only going off of 2 years experience, but this year there was something to do every single night.
Yeah.
Hanukkah.
Right.
Except for the ones on Shabbat, but technically you could go to a service and sort of do both.
Sure. I think there were synagogues that did that. They didn't think of it. Yeah.
So I could definitely, and Purim also is one that has a lot, Lag BaOmer as well. I think it's because of the less religious obligation behind that. You've lit Hanukkah candles, no matter what your Jewish household look like.
It's a very Pew Report way of looking at it, that like Hanukkah and Passover, the two most celebrated Jewish holidays, and they are big deals here.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So I referenced before JFNA, the Jewish Federations of North America.
Yeah.
They have a lead educator, Rabbi Mike Uram. Well, to the listeners out there, look him up. He is amazing. I love his work. He's changed a lot of what I've thought about. But the one thing he's talked about is there's two types of modern Jewish programs.
Okay.
The Yom Kippur program. Everybody comes to you, one big thing, one place, one big program. We're all here for it. And then there's the Passover programs.
Okay.
Where it's everybody's still sort of doing the same thing or doing their own thing. Right. Or it's little groups across the community. Right. So it's either they're coming to you or they're going to their own place to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's really sort of recently kind of changed my mentality of like, there are a few times where we want to bring them to us and have that Yom Kippur model. And there's other times where we need to kind of let them spread their wings, be their own Jewish community, offer their own places for Shabbat dinner, and bring those people together, or Passover, or whatever it may be.
Like, my favorite high holidays that we've done, I mean, last year was great. Being at Commonwealth Autism was super cool, and it was a great space, and they're great people. It was cool to support a nonprofit while doing things. And like, I tell you, the one that I really think had a huge amount of impact was during COVID, where myself and a guitar player went and did like these very abbreviated versions of high holiday services in people's driveways.
Wow.
And it was, I forget what we even called it. It was like pop-up Rosh Hashanah and pop-up Yom Kippur, whatever. And and we would just like go to people's driveways. It was 1 hour. What they did in their home was their thing, because who knows whose family and masks and what, like, but we're in the driveway. It's two people, we're 6 feet apart, doing the best we can, right? And to have people, it was a unique experience to have people calling you and emailing you and saying like, our family wants Yom Kippur. Like, we want that.
Yeah.
How do we schedule that? How do we schedule Rosh Hashanah? And can our Jewish neighbors from down the street bring folding chairs, like, and sit in the lawn and watch too? And does that cost extra or whatever? Yeah. Right. And I tell you, I don't want to go back to anything that's like that, because that was a horrible time for humanity. but that ruach, right? Like that spirit, I think it's almost disappointing to me that I can't capture that because it's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Like that experience is truly never going to happen again. And to kind of every high holidays be like, all right, well, how do we want to reinvent the wheel for the 100th time?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's frustrating. You don't have to worry about what you're wearing, your knowledge, your past or future experience, what your child understand. It's like you're making it was ice cream. Yeah. Mount Sinai Mountain of Ice Cream. Shout out to Rabbi Josh Lesser, formerly of Beit Chavarim in Atlanta.
It makes me often, the one thing that I think about fairly frequently is this like push and pull almost institutionalized Judaism. And, some synagogues, some are adding more, some are subtracting. But it seems like the number one success are these extracurricular type programs where it's out in the community. And I don't really know what that means for synagogue life in the future, because I do see that there's like a crowd that is dedicated to that.
Right.
But there's also a strong crowd that's the opposite. That is like, I want Judaism in my home and in my neighborhood, but not in a place of a Beit Din, of this like formal, I had to go here, commit to this.
Right.
And it's something, I'm kind of like sitting back and waiting to see, what does that mean for the future of the Jewish community?
Right.
Is it just going to remain that of like two separate parties? Is it that a synagogue is going to be without walls in the future and I sort of move around? Or is it that there will be a centralized synagogue system based on just areas and not movements?
Yeah. I watch a lot of sort of religious trends outside of the Jewish world because I don't know what book says this or who the author is. It's not Chaim Potok, but it's like some Jewish authors said Jews are like everyone else, only more so. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Christian clergy, right? Mainline Protestant, whatever. And they tell me stories about like, oh, that church is closing. That church used to have 300 families on a Sunday. Now it's 30,
right?
Whatever. And different thing, right? Because the Jewish world, it's not church. Right? It's a different culture. And it's peoplehood, and that's different than religion on its own. But I do watch these things, and I had a friend tell me, I'm going to get exactly what she said wrong, but I said this thing about these churches, and I said, well, like, business school. I was like, so, well, then why don't they rent out half their building? Well, why don't they do this? Well, why don't they do that? Whatever. And she said, every church I've ever seen closes with $500,000 to $1 million in the bank.
Wow.
She said, it's not, they don't think that way. And so you're not going to get those kinds of results.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a community that's going to say, okay, you know what, honestly, in 1965, the sanctuary had whatever, 300 people, 200, whatever, on Shabbat. Now, I mean, we're okay, but it's like half. And, like half the kids are intermarried and they're not going to bring their kids for B'nai Mitzvah or whatever. Or like in my world, I do a tremendous number of weddings. Very few baby namings, right? So if you want the rabbi who's going to do the Jewish wedding that's followed by the Hindu ceremony, I am more than honored to do that. Also, that family, the likelihood they're going to call me and say, oh, like, we're pregnant, we're trying to figure, right?
Yeah.
2% chance, likely 2%.
Why do you think that is?
So I have two types of wedding couples. So one is thank you, Rabbi. We deeply appreciate you. We'll never talk to you. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, truly. And it's funny because sometimes I show up to the venues, and this is because of mom and dad up there on top of my party room. I shake hands with the bartender. I hang out with the busboys and the cooks because those are like, I'm there to work too.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not a guest. I'm there to work too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of, and it's weird because I'll be like, hi, it is a pleasure to work with you. Thank you, Javier, whatever your name is. The photographers, it's the same deal. They're like, now can I? I'm like, yes. Whatever you have to do to get a good photo, like maybe now they use AI, but that's, I am okay with the idea that I am the Jewish DJ. I'm okay with it.
Jewish DJ.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
My job is to give them the playlist of, right, everybody, we're going to start with, Ketubah. That's when we followed up with, the reason I'm okay with it is Rabbi Bill Curry of blessed memory, who was my life cycle instructor. He said in a very thick New Jersey accent, no one gives a damn what you think about the Torah portion. And it was like, that kind of sucks. And he said, everyone cares about their daughter's wedding. Everyone cares about a funeral.
Right.
You have one shot. Like, you can give a lot of sermons and some of them will be duds. You have one shot to get that right.
Yeah.
And I take, maybe it's the music dude part of me, like I take that very seriously.
No.
And so I'm honored when couples have me, and I also understand my job is to fill a role for them. My hope is that of that small number of couples, and I've even had couples I've married who now hang out with your stuff, right? Like, my hope is that representing the values of Kehillah by doing the wedding the way we do it. It's not the Rabbi Patrick show.
Yeah.
I am an ambassador of what Kehillah is about, and that's why you're going to have things the way you have them. That then you will say, oh, if he was that cool at our wedding, not cool like hipster cool, if he was that generous or kind, open-minded, and he's just telling me, oh, no, that's like, this is a Kehillah. This is the way we are. It's not me teaching them how to be. It's like, it's a grassroots. It's a bottom up. Then maybe they will feel comfortable saying like, well, I kind of miss, right? And that they'll have that experience. But that's a very small number.
Yeah.
And then, there's congregants of mine who get married, and that's a different thing. But then I think with that group that's probably not going to call me. I think, and they do like get pregnant and they have kids, whatever, and then they just never call me to do something. I think that's because for them, it's not a meaningful moment. Not the having kids part,
right?
But that sanctifying a loving moment. That's like the wedding was that. Right. Like the wedding did that for all of the things we could have, except for when someone is going to be buried. Right?
Yeah.
And okay, like, cool. That's your Judaism. I'm fine with it. It is what it is. Do I wish I could be there because I feel an emotional connection that I was under the chuppah with you? Like, of course. Like, I wish some of these couples would call me, but they're not going to. 5-ish% will.
Yeah.
And that's where you go, okay, that's awesome.
And I think it takes us back to sort of where we started, that the forcing the hand and saying like, no, you need to do more Jewish thing or do it this certain way,
right,
is going to push people away,
right?
Because they're going to go home and say like,
right,
I don't. And like, does that mean I'm a bad Jew?
Right.
Like, there is no, that we need to shed some of those things and just, again, like you said, sort of explain, this is what the Torah says. Right. So we do it this way because of that. You can take with it what you will, because that's how Judaism that's what the Talmud is.
Yeah.
We need to start explaining more, and giving the explanation will hopefully draw people more to it. And I think that is what helps connect the people, is an explanation, hearing them out. Like the Thinking Jewishly, I love to go to, even just as a participant, because I'm curious to hear how you are viewing some of these, either the text that we are studying, or one was the one that you presented. We got into a discussion of how do each person prays. And I'm like, I'm curious about that, because I know sometimes I view prayer as a little bit of a meditation, but I also am out there hiking Shenandoah. And once you reach the peak, you're like, you're so taken away with the beauty that everybody says like, my gosh, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a moment of prayer, gratitude of like, wow, like, yes, this is beautiful. I didn't do anything to make this happen. So something may have or must have. And I'm grateful to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And removing this, like, it has to be done this way, but, just suggesting of like, this is, a guideline rather than a rule book, I think could be a little more helpful to our community.
Yeah, I love it.
That was great. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Avi. If you enjoyed this podcast, we could really use your help. We really love your support. This podcast is not funded by anybody other than you. So the fact that you're hearing it on the schedule that you're hearing it is because people like you really love this podcast and want to support it. So if you can, please go to kahilarva.org/donate. That's kahilarva.org/donate. Links are down here. Just $5 a month, guys. Seriously. If you want my time, if you want me to do this, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.